What is going on, you guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is Interesting Podcast. We are coming to you guys live on April 17th, 2025 for episode 107, where today we actually have a very special guest. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to introduce to you guys TENINTY.
It was Thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, dude, it is so cool to actually have you sit down and join with us. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on.
All right, man. Well, let's just start out for all the people who maybe don't know you. Maybe you can introduce your name, where you're from, and maybe how long you've been in pro wrestling.
Sure, man. My name is TENINTY. I'm the leader of the Alpha Sigma squad out here in the Northwest. I'm wrestling for... That's a loaded question. We were talking about this a second ago. My first match was in 2017, so that's, 7 years? Yeah, 7 years. Crazy. I tell people about 6 years because I stopped a little bit after that match for about a year. So I tell people about 6 years altogether.
That is so interesting. So, before we actually dive into your pro wrestling career and how everything is kind of built up, when did you start watching professional wrestling? What got you into it?
I started watching, I think I was 6. It was right before Mania 23. It was on the build to Mania 23. My dad didn't let me watch it before because, I was 5 and they were kind of doing wild stuff on TV. You had sex celebrations in the ring and stuff like that. I turned it on. He's like, no. But it was before Mania 23, I think is when they started to go PG or they started working towards that. And so that's when I was allowed to start watching it. And I kind of just fell in love with it.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I've always wondered whenever it comes to people that can actually share a specific experience, what it's like for you to now look back on that. Do you think that that was a really good time to get into pro wrestling?
Yeah, I think so. You had kind of Cena's rise, as he was becoming the top guy. You had Michaels there still. Michaels was still going. Mysterio was going. Jeff Hardy was huge. I feel it was a good time to be a fan of baby faces at that time. Still going. So yeah, I feel it was a great time to start watching wrestling. I like to ask wrestlers when they started watching wrestling because I feel it shows in how they wrestle.
Yeah.
All kind of the old time guys okay, you're an 80s fan with me you can tell it's that ruthless aggression era, and then also I was a big fan of NXT's black and gold era, and I feel that shows a lot in my wrestling.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I know. I wanted to bring up to you being able to be trained at the Nightmare Factory. So can you kind of guide us through exactly how that experience was, or maybe how it was on your first day heading into that training?
Yeah, so it was in the middle of the pandemic, actually. I had been training under Dr. Luther up here.
Uh-huh.
I think it was in February. He talked to us about hey, I got signed. Part of my contract is I'm going to go out to the factory and help train their guys. And COVID was coming and things were kind of just looking rough for the school we were at. So he's think it'd be a good move for you guys to go. And it ended up being 3 of us. We moved down there. And then Charlie ended up coming with us, Charlie Avell. I'm sure you know of him. He's on POW a lot with me. But it was me, Parker Lee, and another guy. We ended up moving there in August of 2020 because we agreed in February, but then I actually had a house at the time. Literally turned around, sold my house, and was ready to go. And then COVID hit, and we all had to wait. So we moved in August, and when we got there, it was completely different than what we were used to. It was very humid there, and so our first day of training, it was super muggy to us, and we all I think 2 out of the 3 of us threw up just because it was in such a different environment than what we were used to, temperature wise. Our the other guy that came with us, he got heat stroke the first day. He ended up getting heat stroke from it. Just even the climate from like going from Portland to like
Yeah.
Georgia, super humid, was just rough. But then training wise, it was a lot of fun. So it's just always like, that's like the first like thing that comes to my mind is like, dude, we got there and like we got like one of us got heat stroke. But training wise, it was a lot of fun. Cody was awesome to learn from. QT was a big part of my training there. He was great to learn from. Glacier is another one of like the people I put very high up on my trainers list, just because I feel like I've learned a lot from Glacier.
Yeah.
Billy Gunn's another great name that I've learned from, and Ernest Miller. Like, I've been very lucky when I was in Georgia to like learn from some great names.
That is really, really interesting. Yeah, I've always like wondered like how does it feel to know that like you are in that lineage of like Cody Rhodes and his whole school? Like, did that add any pressure to you?
It was, yes, a lot actually. Especially because like when we were first there, like everyone like was like, oh, these are Luther's guys. So I felt like there was kind of like an extra pressure when the three of us got there. Like, oh, like Luther kind of put his name on us. Like,
Yeah,
we need to like step it up for him. Because like I remember we messed something up, right? Like second day, like we messed a spot up, and QT's like, I hope Luther didn't teach you guys that. I'm like, like, it kills me. I don't even remember what the spot was or like what we messed up, but I just remember the words coming out of QT's mouth. I hope Luther didn't teach you that. And I was like, no, we've been out for like, please cut us a little slack. Like we've been in a lockdown for 6 months. But yeah, it was a great experience training there. Because they do like 3-month camps is kind of like what the factory's like specialty is. I feel like a lot of the big schools do like the 3-month camp. And I never went through one of them. I got there right before the first one started, like the one that like broke havoc and like a bunch of my tag partner Casey Rocker came from. They were all on the first camp. We got there like 2 weeks before that started, and they were like, hey, these are technically for like our new people, and you guys have been working for like a couple of years, so we're just gonna put you straight into like, they had a night class that would train after the camp, so they just put us straight into that. So I ended up staying at the factory for 4 years. It wasn't until what 2024 last year, yeah, started last year, I ended up moving back home and just wanted to grind out the indies here.
That is so interesting. Well, before we actually get into you coming back to Oregon, I know you had just brought up that like Glacier had like really helped you kind of develop things. So like what are some aspects of your character that we can really see that maybe he implemented in his training?
I wouldn't say like character in the sense of like I like picked up things of Glacier's character, but like I learned a lot of like how to like, I guess work is the best way to say it. Like you'll hear wrestlers say like going out there and working. I learned how to work from Glacier. He would go out there and like he would just don't plan. Like we would have matches and training. He's like, don't plan anything. Just go out there, be in the moment. Like that's the main thing I feel like I learned from Glacier is like be in the moment. I feel like that shows a lot with my work. Like I'll go out there and I just have fun. Like I just like
that is so interesting.
I try and just listen to everyone. And I just try and have fun and just literally like I like when I'm wrestling, I'll hear Glacier like in my head. Like I feel like that's a weird way like my brain works. I'll just hear like some of my coaches in my head when I'm doing stuff. Like Billy would always be like, "Eat his lunch." Like when you just kind of had to beat someone up, I can hear Billy Gunn to this day still be like, "Eat his lunch," and like you'll just see me sometimes start going off. And usually in my head, I'm just picturing Billy Gunn eat his lunch. But no, like Glacier, yeah, I feel like I learned how to like be a character from Glacier. Not necessarily like I did Glacier's character stuff, but like I learned how to like when to put my character stuff in and when to like the timing of it and like when to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. So like how would you kind of like explain to somebody who maybe doesn't know who you are, like what is the Caleb Kennedy character?
I get this question a lot, and I don't know how to explain it, because if you like know me in person, I'm just me. I just there's not. I've never put a thought into like, oh, I'm gonna do this for my gimmick. I kind of just go out there and I be me. But like, if you've seen my matches, you know I go out there and I have personality. Like I said earlier, I just have fun. Like I'll
Yeah.
like when I have someone, I'm just like, all right. I don't think of like what's this character gonna do. I kind of just do what I think I would do. I just throw a guy out, do some spins, talk some shit. Or can I swear on here?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I should have asked you that before I said it, and I was like, oh, my bad. I'll throw people out, talk shit. Like, there's not like a thought process of like, what would my character do? I just do. I just kind of I live in the moment. Like, that's the best way to explain my character. I'm just me.
That is so interesting. Yeah, I've kind of like noticed whenever you kind of look at pro wrestling that some people, when they don't have like a direct narrative of a character, it's difficult to attach to. And so like have you ever felt like you kind of have to bring yourself out of yourself more, or like elevate yourself more so that it kind of how do I say that? Like I know what I want to say in my head, but I don't know. Like, go ahead.
So that's connection with the audience.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
As a babyface, yes, I struggle as a babyface to like really like think like, okay, I need to do this to connect. As a heel, I have no problem. I think that's just like my personality. I like messing with people, and so that comes very easy. Like as a heel, I don't have to think to connect. I go out there and be me. A babyface, I struggle a bit more. I have to like think about it and think about my moments. You can see a very clear night and day difference between my work as a babyface and as a heel. Because heel, it's just easy. It's just like I said, talk shit, be me. Babyface, I have like, all right, how is this gonna connect? How do I be myself, but like in a likable way?
Yeah.
Drexel, he always says to me, he's like, "You're a heel. Like you got a punchable face." That's what Drexel always says to me. Is I have a face that like he wants to punch. Like, and so it's easier. But yeah, that's just my.
Here's a question. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So like we were just talking about you being in Georgia and then you coming back to Oregon. Do you feel like there's more of a comfortability when performing in front of an Oregon audience as compared to maybe a Georgia audience?
They're different. They like different things, in which I'm very grateful that I've worked a lot in front of both, because like now I know how to work two different styles really well. The South is very much they like their wrestling, like the stereotypical an eye poke and a body slam is gonna get a big reaction, but like a dive to the outside, there's no reason. Like they don't really care. Versus like I hate to say like an indie crowd, but like Oregon's more of like, I hate saying an indie crowd, but they respond to dives and cool moves, and like they still respond to character stuff, and like I feel like that's where I've had the best of both worlds. I've learned how to like use the stuff from that I learned in the South and bring it here, and it makes me a little different than people here. Yeah. But the crowds are very different. The crowds a lot more offensive in the South. Like there's some stuff that like I've seen people get upset about, like here, like people in the crowd saying here. I'm like, man, that was just another Tuesday to me. And I'm not trying to say that's okay, like, but there would be things that were said in the shows in the South that I just didn't think much of, like, but like, and they're not okay to say, like, that's not okay, but it's just kind of was working in the South. Like, it was what it was.
Very interesting. So here's a good question that I had. Is like, was there any spots in which like you've actually been brought to your attention where like maybe you were a little bit hesitant on actually performing the spot ahead of time? Or were there ever any times in which you were like, let's just allow this person to maybe create their art and let's see how it comes out?
Do you mean like a character or like a move? Like,
Like a move, like maybe somebody
okay.
thought like, well, let's do a dive to the outside, and maybe you're like, you know.
No, usually people are like, of course, like they always say in wrestling to say no. Like, be comfortable saying no. I'm trying to think of like specific ones. There's nothing really like that crazy I can think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get a lot of shit for that. For kind of, I'm game. Like, I'm protect myself. If I'm like working with like a lesser experience, especially someone from like my school, and they want to do something, I might like, hey, like let's get this back on track. Like, maybe that might be out of your wheelhouse. Like, if
Yeah.
I were to work with someone from Oregon Pro, and like it was their first match, like I want to do this like triple flip to the outside. Like, let's be careful.
Yeah. Maybe not.
But if I'm like saying no to something, it's more for like, I'm thinking like for their sake than like, there hasn't been a lot of stuff that I'm not like super comfortable like doing. I'm usually pretty game, whatever.
That is so interesting. Yeah, so let's kind of start to talk about Oregon Pro Wrestling School. So like when you actually came back and you were in Oregon, aside from going to like the Nightmare Factory, like how did they kind of treat you when you entered into Oregon Pro Wrestling School? Was it like you felt like they were more inviting?
Yeah, of course, super inviting. So backstory on my history of Oregon Pro. Ricky was one of my trainers at WC when I first started, like
Okay.
back in 2017. Ricky was like, I would say he was my main trainer from then.
Okay.
And so pandemic, or a little bit before the pandemic, when I came back from my little break I took, I started training with Luther, but I still kept in touch with Ricky. I still talked to him quite a bit. And so when I moved, Ricky opened the school, and when I was in Georgia, I would fly home probably every 3-4 months for a week or so and come visit family. So whenever I was in town, I would go and train at the school, and usually I try to line it up with like a DOA show. So I'd go and work shows while I was here. So when I moved back, I already had relationships with everyone at Oregon Pro for the most part. Like, I knew Amira, I knew the Aces, I knew Naja real well, just from me coming and going so much, which is kind of what led into me teaming with the Aces. Was I was already good friends with them whenever I would come.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely have to get into your relationship with the Aces later because that's definitely a hot topic right now.
Yeah, for sure.
So I noticed when I look at the online OregonProWrestlingSchool.com that they have their list of graduates and then it'll say alumni, and you're a part of the alumni section. So like, what exactly does that mean?
So as far as I know, this is my understanding. I think alumni is people who were like affiliated with the school or trained at the school, but were already cleared to start wrestling shows before the school ever opened. That's
Okay.
why Charlie, Jaden, I almost called him the wrong name. Derek Shaw, I almost called him his old name. Old name was Stop. No, Derek Shaw, Caden Cassidy. I don't think I'm missing anyone. That's why we're all alumni.
Okay.
And then like Amira and the Aces, they're graduates because they started at Oregon Pro.
Yeah.
But at least to my knowledge, that's the difference.
Okay.
Ricky could see this and be like, no, you're completely wrong. It's because of if that's the case, sorry. But at least that's my it's you if you were cleared to start working before the school opened, but you're like affiliated or you train at the school, you're alumni.
Yeah. So, like, what are some inspirational characters that you kind of carry with yourself today? Do you have any like list of wrestlers that you really like to aspire to be like?
Mm. Um, that's a tough question. Kind of goes back to like, in the sense of, I just kind of go out and be me.
Yeah.
There's definitely like wrestlers I watch to like more for like learning like the wrestling aspect versus like the character aspect.
Okay.
Sami Zayn's a big one for me. I love Sami Zayn. Shawn Michaels. I love like 2008 Chris Jericho, like 2008, 2009 Chris Jericho. 2009 Randy Orton, like Apex Predator Randy Orton's a great one for me, and the Legend Killer. Like, love all that. Notice I'm saying a lot of heels. I'm definitely a heel.
No, it's all good. It is all good. I'm pretty sure that there was somewhere on social media that I had seen that you had gone through a torn shoulder injury at some point in your wrestling career. Is that correct?
Yes. I had a grade 3 tear in my AC joint. I was given a TKO, and it was like he launched me and I hit the ref, like my feet hit the ref, and then I basically landed on my trap, like my feet were pointed straight up. It was on like one of the showcases, and Cody came and checked on me after. He's like, "Hey, you good?" Like it looked like he landed on your head. I'm like, "No, it was trapped." Like I think I'm like, because I thought like my shoulder was hurt, but I was kind of like, I can push through this, right? Like just hurt, you know. But I ended up tearing it. And it's funny because that happened on a Friday, and then I had a booking Sunday. And then I worked my regular job on Saturday, and I thought like I dislocated my shoulder in that match. So like all Saturday, I'm trying to pull it and pop it back into place, and probably making it way worse. Like I was like, give it a good tug, like against something, because I was trying to just pop like it back into place. I thought it was dislocated because I've never dislocated my shoulder. I just thought that's what I did. And then Sunday, I put some KT tape on, put some Icy Hot on, and wrestled a full match with it. And then that was end of December, and I was like, I just got to make it through this weekend, and then I have like the holidays to heal up and like rest up. And New Year's came around, my shoulder wasn't better, and so I think I gave it another week or two, and then got it looked at, and they're like, stop wrestling. Like, you are on the verge of needing surgery. If you stop right now, you won't need surgery. Like, so I was like, okay, cool. So they told me it was 4 months off. And so that during those 4 months is when I moved back to Oregon. So I moved back, and then my first match back was on April 14th. It was at a DOA independent show against Max Burnside. And then I kind of took another month after that of just training. And then I fully came back to working shows May 10th. Or no, May 11th. And that was the first tag match with the Aces. So, and then May 10th, we're having this big match at DOA. So kind of comes full circle.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Did you feel like there was like a little bit of ring rust when you were actually going back to training and getting yourself back into that wrestling groove? Did you kind of have to shake some off a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely a big like, and it's mental too. Like physically, like you just had an injury that you're trying to protect, and you can't like do certain things you used to do. And then like that injury took you away from what you loved for like 4 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, however long you're out. So it's a huge mental thing coming back from an injury. Like it messes with your head. It really messed with mine. And mine wasn't even that long, but I was out for 4 months. All I could do was sit and watch wrestling. And then I came back, and I've noticed everyone I've seen come back from an injury, they have this, but they have like kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. Kid in a toy shop vibe. Like they're just going crazy with just all their ideas, everything they've wanted to do. I think the injury was a good, like that 4 months was a good thing for me because I felt like I plateaued in Georgia. I don't know if plateau is the right word. I felt like I stopped growing.
Yeah.
I think it was 2022, right? Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting my years all mixed up. I think it was 2022. I had like a really like a good year. Like Casey and I were tag champs for a year. We had big matches. We're on dark, and then I felt like 2023 was like less than that. And so I remember like near the end too, I was kind of like, man, I got to figure something out. Like I had gone back home for a couple months to try and build some steam that way. Like I was back in Oregon from September through mid-November of 2022. I didn't touch Georgia at all. I just came back here to work and try and build up some steam that way. And I hoped that going back to Georgia off of that, like I'd get some kind of momentum going. And I had some good matches, a little bit of momentum, and then I got hurt. And I was kind of like, you know what? I think that's a sign. Like that's a sign that I know where I'm moving back home with that injury.
Yeah. So like what are like all of like the companies that you've wrestled for? Because I know that you've been able to wrestle for AEW, and we're definitely going to have to get into that. But like what are like all of the other companies that like you're mostly known for wrestling for?
I've wrestled for a lot of companies in the South. I was one thing that Casey and I were given a lot of compliments on when I was in a tag team with. I don't know if I touched on this. I was in a tag team with a guy named Casey Rocker called The Business for most of my time in Georgia. And him and I, we were roommates at the time, and we would just get in the car and just travel to whatever show. We were really good about that. So I've worked for a lot of places in the South. But notable ones, like at least in my career, Georgia Premier Wrestling, they're still running. That was one. Casey and I had the belts there for 6 months, and like it's very Nightmare Factory affiliated show. Like it's not technically owned, but it's very much ran like with, and like it's mainly factory students on it. This one's not running anymore, but District Pro or Championship District Wrestling was a big one for me. They gave us some good matches, including a tag match against Ernest Miller, which was huge. 127 Pro Wrestling was a big one. Mucha Lucha Atlanta was a big one. I loved that show. Trying to think of other ones. New South Pro Wrestling was a big one I worked for, and CCW, Coastal Championship Wrestling, is another big one I worked for in the South.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, I know. I wanted to get in with you about AEW Dark, and the first thing that I found really fascinating about you is that AEW has actually brought you in like multiple times to come perform for the company, because I feel like a lot of people, they at least get a chance. You've been given opportunities multiple times. So like, how was that for you stepping into such an environment your very, very first time?
So it was very nerve-wracking. This was our first time there. We were told we weren't going to wrestle. It was a little bit after we moved to the factory, and QT said like, hey, we're going to use you guys for extra roles. This was during the pandemic when they just had like seat fillers for the crowd. Like if you remember like AEW during the pandemic, they like just had the wrestlers sitting in the crowd, and like the wrestlers were the like noise, because like other places that were wrestling during the pandemic would just do it in front of no crowd, but wrestling something that you need your crowd for. So they sent us there. It was for All Out, and then like the All Out week. So we were there for like 3 days of taping, and so we just were in the crowd and just got to kind of hang out, which was cool. It was weird being around all those big names, because that was kind of like the first time like I would see people that I like watched wrestling growing up. Like all of a sudden, like I'm meeting Chris Jericho, because Luther was super tight with Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho was like someone I watched on TV a lot. Like I'm like, oh, That's Chris Jericho. Like that's kind of first experience of like working for a major company is like, oh, that's this guy or that's this guy I watched on TV. Like it's kind of like a surreal thing, but like I'm very grateful that I had those opportunities. My first time wrestling for Dark was an 8-man tag match. It was me, Cody Chun, and 2 other guys. But yeah, Cody Chun ended up being on my team, which was cool because I knew him from Northwest stuff against the Wingmen. So it was Peter Avalon, JD Drake, Nick Nemeth, and then Caesar Bononi. It was those 4 guys. And it was kind of just, I think all I did was get knocked off the apron. I think that's all. It was still cool. It was a good like first experience for me because then the next one was like a full match, and like I'm glad I had that first one to kind of get the nerves out.
Yeah.
Because then the next one was me and KC versus Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado, and that one like we gotta get some stuff in, which was cool. Like, it was very like surreal experience because we're on this like big platform where we're filming at Universal Studios. A funny story about that actually. So we were on one of the buses there, and our Casey and I's buddy Brett Buffet was there with us, but he had taken an earlier bus. So he gets there and he texts us. He's like, "Hey, you guys are working the factory tonight," because like they had the matches on the board, and so we're like, "Cool, awesome!" Like we're working Aaron Solo, Nick Camarado. Like we train with Nick Camarado sometimes. Like should be great. We get there, and it's Casey Rocker and Caleb Conley. And I'm like, oh, yeah. All right. Well, we'll have fun, Casey. Like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I think wrong Caleb, but what do I say, right? So I'm kind of just like, I guess I gotta like just do whatever. And I'm looking around, I don't even see Caleb Conley. And so I give it like 20 minutes, right? 20, 30 minutes. Casey sees Aaron, like, whatever. They know they're wrestling Casey. But then they asked, like, we're not wrestling you two? And I'm like, I guess not. They put the other Caleb on, like, and so I, like, gave it, like, 30 minutes and waited to see if Caleb Conley was even there because I never saw him. And then I went and, like, said something like, hey, like, I'm not trying to cause an issue, but, like, I just wanted to see if, like, maybe this was, like, supposed to be me by any chance. Like, because I don't see him here. And, like, I'm wondering if someone just accidentally wrote down the wrong name. And they're like, let's double check. And then when they come back, like, yeah, it's you. I'm like, so, again, very grateful for that match. And it was kind of like a weird thing because I was like, I don't want to cause any issues. But like, it got to a point where I never saw him. I was like, I wonder if it's supposed to be me. And thankfully, it was. But yeah, originally it was Casey Rocker and Caleb Conley versus the Factory. The match that never happened.
So, like, how was it? Like, did you ever get to, like, see Tony Khan when you were backstage? And, like, did you have, like, any type of interaction with him?
Yeah, he would kind of sit by. Like, you could, like, see him as you're coming to and from the matches. I never had super long conversations with him because he was very busy. But I always made sure to kind of just, hey, thank you for the opportunity. Like, just be, like, respectful and quick with it. But, like, hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But I try not to, like, go out of my way to, like, bother him. But kind of, like, if I saw him in passing, hey, thank you. I hope you're happy. But again, he's a super busy guy, so I never try to, like have a full conversation.
Yeah.
But try and be respectful.
So, like, how would you kind of describe your, like, overall experience at AEW and maybe the difference in, like, the crowd? Like, how did you feel the crowd reacted to your performance?
I want to say, like, well, but, like, I'm just, the crowd was fun. Like,
Yeah.
it was like cool working in front of a big crowd. The crowd at Universal, like the dark tapings, I think I'd seen me wrestle a few times just throughout Florida. So there was a few people who knew me. I got a good reaction off. I got like a little hot tag, and I remember getting a good reaction off that. And like, oh, this is cool. I immediately got killed right off of that reaction. Like, got hip tossed into the corner, took like I think 2 finishers, was immediately killed after that reaction. But it was still cool getting like a good reaction, especially as a baby face, which isn't my like thing I do well at. I did AEW Dark once in Portland. They were filming at wasn't the Moda Center, but it was like Theater of the Clouds, I think is what it's called. I think that was the venue we were at. And it was me, Sebastian Wolf, and Judas Icarus versus Matt Hardy, Ethan Page, and Isaiah Cassidy. And that was a lot of fun because it was like hometown crowd. Like I hadn't moved back here yet, but I think I like I said, was kind of like coming back and forth enough that they knew who I was somewhat. And then they Sebastian and Judas. So like we got a good little reaction. And then there was a "This is awesome" chant at one point. And I think it was for us getting our asses kicked. There and like probably a solid like 8,000 people are chanting "This is awesome," and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, and it was I watched on TV growing up. Like, it was like one of like my cool full circle moments. Actually, the funny thing about that was my first show I ever went to live was No Mercy in 2008, and the first match on that was Matt Hardy and Mark Henry for the ECW title. So I remember like wrestling Matt Hardy, and like technically, I'm gonna say it, like technically the same building as the Moda Center. Like it's attached. Like I get Jaden about this because he's like, man, I haven't wrestled in the Moda Center yet. I'm like, brother, we wrestled in the Moda Center. Like, I know it's not the Moda Center, but the same building. Let me have my full circle moment. I wrestled Matt Hardy in the Moda Center after I in the Moda Center when I was 9 years old. Just let me have it. But yeah, like circle moment. Like, I would say probably like 1% of wrestlers ever like make a living with this. Yeah, like it's a very kind of sad truth, but like not a lot of us really make it. And if I never make it, like there's moments like that no one can take away from me. Like I got to wrestle someone I watched growing up in like the big sports center of like my hometown. Like no one can take that from me, no matter what happens.
Yeah, I noticed during the match with Matt Hardy that you were actually able to take a side effect from him, and that was like one of his big moves that you probably saw growing up. So like when you were backstage and maybe you guys were going over exactly what spots each person will be taking in the match, how was Matt Hardy as far as that communication and going back and forth?
It was awesome. He was super cool with it. Some matches you get a lot, some you don't. That one he seemed like generous with. But yeah, as I actually took like a Hardy's finish from all 3 guys on the team, like at the end. And like I realized that as we're calling it, I was like, side effect from Matt, Swanton from Isaiah, Twist of Fate from me. I'm taking hits. Like, and I realized that like it was cool, like getting to take all those moves. And then like they came out to the Hardy Boys theme. And so like it was just very cool. Like especially as like a big Hardy Boys fan growing up. Like it was fun. It was awesome.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I know that Taz and Excalibur were actually on the commentary team during that match. So like do you ever like replay that, like having a match being called by 2 people like a Taz and Excalibur?
So they were actually on my match for Solo and Colorado too. I don't remember anything that they said with the Matt Hardy match, but the Solo and Colorado match, they got in a bit about how my last name is pronounced. And when for like 30, 45 seconds on how to pronounce my name. I don't remember, like, one of them got it. I think it was Excalibur got it right. And Taz just kept like throwing out crazy, like, variations of it. I was like, you know what? That's cool. Like, that's a pretty high caliber commentary team. And they're just talking about how my last name is pronounced. Like, I'll take it.
Oh, that is so interesting. So, like, have you ever heard anything about like any other possible, like, in the future opportunities to be able to go back to AEW?
I talked with them when they came to Portland, I think last year, but it was right off of my injury, and I just wasn't able to get everything time. It's just, I think it's kind of just a thing, like, when they need people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they reach out, sometimes they don't. I'm grateful when they do. When they don't, that's okay. There'll be more.
Yeah.
If I never go back, like, not saying I'm never going back, but even if, like, I never go back, I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've gone with, like, a major corporation. I've gone to wrestle a couple times. I've gone to be extras and segments. Like, I'm very grateful for everything I've been given.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, how was it? Now, I want to get into with you the Flamin' Aces 2.0, when you kind of stepped in when Spencer Scott was out with injury. How was that overall experience for you?
It was a lot of fun. It was kind of goofy at first. I think, like, when I talked about, like, I don't connect as a babyface, I think when I think too much. I think I think too much about when I'm a babyface. Because when I first started teaming with Spencer and Zay, I was just being goofy. Like, I was getting names wrong. I was just having fun with it. And it was working. The whole team started because I was coming back from an injury at the same time as Spencer getting hurt. Spencer tore his ACL, and then the same time I was coming back. And I took Spencer to the hospital for his ACL. And he talked to me about it while he's at the hospital. He's like, hey, we have all these tag bookings that obviously I can't make anymore. Would love it if, like, you wanted to take my spot in the thing. And I was like, sure, like, because I just moved back. Like, I had DOA. That was my only booking for, like, the next few months at that point was DOA. And so it kind of just worked out for everyone that, like, they kept their tag bookings, and then I got extra bookings because I just moved out here. Like, I wasn't in with everyone yet. So yeah, it kind of just worked out for everyone until Zay, just ruined it and started taking. But
so how was it working alongside like Zay Perez? Did you kind of like let him kind of like guide both of you as to like what the Flamin' Aces would do?
I would say, like, for their team's direction, yes. Like, I understand, like, and Spencer was very, like, involved too. It was kind of like, I understand you guys have, like, your direction. I feel like the Flaming Aces 2.0 was different than the Flaming Aces. Like, Zay and I were much different than Spencer and Zay. I'm a different wrestler than Spencer. Like, Spencer's much more athletic than me. I feel like I'm much more of, like, a character.
Yeah.
And Zay's very, like, personality based. I feel like Zay and I very, like, our personalities played off each other. Like, I remember, like, when we started training together as a team, I was like, oh, this is going to be a tag team with a lot of personality. And I remember it was, like, my first thought when Zay and I started teaming. And yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. I remember our first match as heels was at SOS. And I just remember, like, oh, this is fun. Like, Zay and I are just going out there being goofy together, like.
Yeah.
And then singles book. That's going to be a consistent story.
So
kind of forced.
What was that?
I said he kind of forced my hand.
Yeah. So, like, can you kind of like walk us through that whole story on like when exactly you guys had to split up and how everything kind of transpired?
Yeah. So what happened was we started tagging, but Zay kind of kept taking off as a singles guy. And so I was talking to you about being singles as well, but as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
And we just felt like the timing was there for just the heel turn. The heel turn into like Spencer's recovery time. We felt like everything was going to line up right. So I turned heel. I think it was 3 months later. Spencer came back after I turned heel. And then I had already had planned for like when I was a heel, I wanted to lead a group at DOA, and it's kind of spread to other places too. But I wasn't gonna call it the Alpha Sigma Squad at the time, but I had like a vision for like, oh, I want to lead a group with 2 guys, like, because I've been like in tag teams. Like, I had probably 15 matches where I was a solos guy before I moved to Georgia. I moved to Georgia, got put in a tag team with Parker Lee. Got moved from that to a tag team with Casey. Well, me and Casey wanted to tag, but I was in a tag team for a long time with Casey. And then I moved here, and part of why I moved was like, I can be a solos guy. Like, I feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because people know I'm good at tag wrestling, so they put me in tag matches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I can be a singles guy, so I moved out here to like, I want some singles matches. I got put in a tag team with Zay. And so I got talked to about being put in another tag team. And after Zayn, I'm like, no. Like, I want singles matches. Like, that's, I think, been one of my goals of 2025 is like, I want to like break away from being a tag guy. Like, I love tag wrestling. I think tag wrestling's great. And I tag with Brendan and and Sil Alvaro on a lot of shows. And I love tag wrestling. I love tagging with those two, but like I feel like I have a lot to offer with tag wrestling. But I also have a lot to offer singles wrestling. So that's been a fun this year is like get out, show I can go as a singles guy, like really show what Caleb TENINTY by himself can do.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about dang it, stupid thing. Let's talk about the Aces High. So you were just brought up that like you are giving these other opportunities as far as tag teaming. Can you kind of like explain to everybody maybe like what you enjoy about being a part of that trios?
I feel like what I enjoy about being part of this trios is kind of puts me in a different spot than what I've been here. I've been in a lot of factions. Casey and I were loved at a lot of different places to be put in factions, but it was always as kind of like people's henchmen because I'm not a super big guy. Casey's not a super big guy, so people like to put us with them as like, but like as guys who could get them heat because Casey and I are good at getting heat. So I've loved with Aces High or Alpha Sigma Squad, whatever promotion we're running on, whatever our name is there. I've loved the opportunity to kind of be the leader of it. Because like I said, I've been wrestling for 6 years, and I feel like I haven't been given the opportunity to show what I can do, like as a singles guy. And so I feel like with being the leader of this team, I've had more chances to grow as a, not necessarily just a singles guy, but as like a leader, as someone who's the one talking and all that.
Yeah.
Opportunities I haven't had before in the past. So I feel like it's been very it's been a new challenge because regular tag matches I can call one all day. Like I can put together a tag match in my sleep without any issues because I've done it for 6 years. But I feel like this has put like a new layer to me and a new challenge for me to kind of learn and conquer as a performer.
Yeah. So like what would you say is like one thing that each person brings to the group that really makes you guys be able to connect and really portray everything to the audience?
So I feel like I've done a good job of kind of like leading the charge on like, I know how to be a heel. I know when to piss people off. I know when to like get that reaction. Brennan and Sol Alvaro, like there's a reason I chose them. Sol Alvaro is like a legit like badass. Like, state alert. He did jujitsu for a long time. Like, he can out wrestle. Like, that's something that's not well known about him, but he can out wrestle probably 90% of the roster. Brendan, he looks like $1,000,000. Like, that's like, I feel like you know how like when Evolution like was put together and they're like, oh, like Randy Orton. Like, I feel like that's Brendan. Like, why does that look as good as he does? And like, I feel like they both have that kind of like, I want to say attitude that lines up with me, but kind of just the like, we can piss people off mentality. And I feel like that's like, I specifically like, it wasn't like a Ricky or like Drexel were like, hey, we're gonna put these two guys with you. Like, I went to them, was like, I want these two guys with me. Like, it was, I chose these two for, I feel like we all gel together very well.
Yeah, that is so interesting. Yeah, I know one thing I wanted to bring up to you was at DOA Port Slamdia when you guys were facing the Bud line, and you guys came out with like the um, circle around like the pot leaf, and always say no. So like, who thought that would be a really cool aspect to bring to your guys' match?
I thought the signs would be cool. It was very much kind of inspired by Drew Gulak when he did the no fly zone. I had the idea to go like to say no high zone and like have that be the story. And we ended up never saying no high zone, but like it led into like, hey, let's make signs like to bring out, because we do like the shirts. I don't know if you've seen them or noticed them, but we'll have like custom shirts made for almost every match about like, we're just talking shit about our opponents. But like the whole crowd isn't going to see that. Like people like, even on an indie show, like 3-4 rows back aren't going to be able to make out what our shirt says and like the little joke it's making about our opponents. But the big old say no to drugs, like everyone saw those, everyone could see and understand like what we were doing. So that's why, like, I mean, we did shirts that day too, but like that's why I wanted to do the signs, is something just whole crowd could be like, oh, they're just talking shit. Like, it was very easy. And I feel like that goes back to what I was saying about, like, I learned how to be a heel in the South, like in a different way, like than a lot of people out here. Like, that was all my wrestling was in the South, was just try and piss off people.
Yeah.
Just be
interesting. So what can we expect from the upcoming show of DOA Coming Undone when you guys actually get a DOA tag team title match? And then you guys are also going to be fighting for the moniker of Aces. How, like, what exactly can we expect from that event?
Well, for us to win the tag titles, for one. No, I'm excited for that match. It'll be a good one. But yeah, like I said, like, we've been trying to like really show everyone who we are, and I feel like that will be the show where it happens. Like, because I still feel like we've been getting opportunities, and I'm grateful for the opportunities we've gotten. But I feel like the three of us are slept on.
Yeah.
And like, I think Coming Undone is our chance to like really show everyone. And we get the Aces name for keeps. So like, that's cool.
That is so interesting. Yeah. So you were just kind of talking about how like you really want to be able to experience more singles matches in 2025. Do you think that we'll really see you as more of a singles wrestler going into your dope debut coming up?
I sure hope so. That was part of the reason I took that booking. Like, it's a death match, so I'm iffy about death matches. But again, it's a singles opportunity. I want to show everyone that, like, and like I was saying earlier, it's another level for me, like something else for me to like, or another layer to add.
Yeah.
Like, I've never done death matches, but like, I'm trying to be like a jack of all trades. I'm trying to show everyone that I can do whatever you need me to do, singles or tag. But like, yeah, I'm hoping it leads to some cool singles opportunities. I'm excited for like a one-on-one match, especially with Sonico, because he's such a big name around here that like I'm excited for that. And death match, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, dude, that should be awesome to definitely see you in that environment. That's going to be really, really cool. Well, just as like a final question before we actually start to wrap everything up is like, what does professional wrestling mean to you? Like, how does it feel to kind of have that in full circle moment as far as a wrestling fan? Like, what does professional wrestling mean to you personally?
so I feel like the best, because I've been asked this before, and I feel like the best way to like explain it is like it's an escape. Like, and like I think of like all my big moments like growing up, like as a wrestling fan, like I was a big Seth Rollins fan when he had like the WWE title and the US title. And then I think back to like the timing and like, oh, I was going through some really like tough stuff in life when that was happening. That's why I was so locked in on wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I want to do as a wrestler is like just kind of like be able to pull people away from like whatever's going on, like whatever BS is going on.
Yeah.
Like I think wrestling can be an escape from that. Yeah, like Glacier always taught me too, like try and like pull people away from like their world. Like if you keep people invested, like they're not gonna think about what's going on. Like it's just gonna be an escape. I think that's the best way to explain it. As I want like an escape from like whatever's going on. Like I want that to be what wrestling is.
Mm-hmm.
I want it, and then like everyone put away their differences for whatever's going on. Just enjoy wrestling.
Yeah. That is so awesome. Well, I just want to thank you, man, for actually like joining me here tonight and allowing me to just like kind of pick apart your mind a little bit and really dive into who Caleb Kennedy is.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
All right, man. Well, I hope you have a very, very good night, and I cannot wait to see you when you return to Independence.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'll see you then.
Well, all right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Caleb Kennedy. So coming up on May 10th, remember that DOA Coming Undone is going to be coming from the Jackson Armory in Portland, Oregon. And then on May 11th, DOA returns to Independence at the Independence Elks Lodge for DOA Mama Said Knock You Out. If you guys want tickets for both of these events, head on over to DOAProWrestling.com. That's DOAProWrestling.com to pick up your guys' tickets.